Welcome back. It's hard to get back to work, but we must get back to work. Thank you all so much for celebrating that moment with us. This is just a historic conference in so many ways, and I had conversations out in the foyer here, and some of you were saying, thank you so much for making this historic for us and including us in history. And it's like, no, thank you for including me in this history. But it really is incredible. Next, we have a special presentation from an organization based here on the island. So when Hurricane Fiona hit, and funny story, when they said this thing isn't going to be a tropical storm, it's turning into a hurricane, I got a text immediately from Jeremy, and he said, I want to change my flight. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I'll probably cancel. And he said, no, I want to get there sooner because I want to go make sure our stuff is okay and our people are okay. So some people fly into the storm. So we're glad to have him, but we also are glad because we had some folks help us store our stuff, help us navigate some of the questions, because things on the island change when you're in the middle of a natural disaster. So we're so grateful to Angelique Sina with the Friends of Puerto Rico for helping us with all of that. And honestly, like storing all of our exhibitors and swag and conference materials and brought it back safely. Some of those items include coffee on the table. So we sprinkled bags of coffee around the room. So make sure if you're the lucky one that you get an opportunity to take some of that coffee home. But I think she may have even brought more if you're still interested. It's my honor to introduce to you Angelique Sina. She has been an entrepreneur since the age of 7 years old. She's the founder of Friends of Puerto Rico and Panorama Farm. She started her career in finance at the World Bank, and she launched a fund to support entrepreneurship for women and youth. She's committed to the development of more small businesses, and in 2022 founded the Metro Women's Business Center in Puerto Rico. So she is here to share her story with you. Is she? I couldn't see you there. Okay, thank you. Yeah, come on up. She's going to share her story with you. I'm excited to hear it, and I hope you are too.
Thank you. Gracias. Thank you. Yes, that's perfect. All right. Buenos días. ¿Cómo están? All right. I'm still excited about seeing the administrator. Are you? Did you all grab a selfie? Okay, if now Corinne can have her come back and we'll do more photos. Well, I'm really thrilled to be able to meet some of you and to share stories and to know that some of you are moving to Puerto Rico starting January. Good. I love that. I love that. Now I have a deck that is going to follow me while I share some stories with you. Wait, I have the deck in my hand. All right, there you go. All right, so I'm going to share a little bit about the power of our seeds. Most of us are women, and sometimes we forget that we have all these seeds that surround us, and we're making change constantly. So when Corinne and Karina and Jeremy asked if I could share some story, I said, well, I'm going to think and see what I can share with all of you, because all of you are doers. I know some of you have founded women business centers. Others are new on the roll and you're already making it happen. So I'm going to collect some stories to share with you. Bear with me with the clicker. All right. So during the COVID pandemic, I was asked to go back almost 30 years of what shaped me now, and I didn't know where to start. But in my closet, I saw this Girl Scout vest. Do we have Girl Scouts or former Girl Scouts in the house? I had the feeling. All right. Well, I found this tiny vest that I had no idea how I fit into it. But while I was looking at it, I saw that I had the badges for the most Girl Scout cookies sold. And I'm thinking, oh, that's why I'm a nagger. I can ask people for money without knowing them because I sold all these cookies. And that during that process, it led me to understand some things that I'm doing now that I will share with you. Now, also during the COVID pandemic, the government of Puerto Rico certified me as a farmer. So I have a paper that says I'm a certified farmer, which is really exciting because that's something that I really enjoy doing as a child. And that's me in our farm, in Panorama Farm in Las Marias, where our coffee comes from. So I hope that one day you can visit us. Now, you've all seen a little bit about Puerto Rico, right? How many have been to Old San Juan? I saw some of you dancing some salsa also. And if not, we'll get you some classes. So I officially want to welcome you to Puerto Rico and hope that you all can come back. And thank you, Corinne, and to the AWBC team for rescheduling the conference. You probably have now noticed that we have these beautiful blue ocean and yet this very green grass that surrounds us. We're very fertile. We're also very resilient. We are used to things not working. Like when you go and turn on your TV, okay, it's not working anymore because there's all these power outages that your TV no longer works, but we continue moving forward. And then I'm going to share some fun facts. Probably some know them by now. We are not a state. We're an unincorporated territory. And a very cool thing is that we're 100 miles long, 35 wide, and we have 78 mayors. Imagine. It's a lot of curtsying all the time. We also have many Puerto Ricans that serve in the US Army. And we have the only rainforest in all of the United States. That is one of our waterfalls. It's stunning. So if you can escape, it's a 45-minute drive and it is absolutely gorgeous. We also have 300 miles of beaches. So what a good way to de-stress, to walk down those beaches. And we grow coffee, which I'll share a little bit more about. We also have a bioluminescent bay. The closest one is in Fajardo. It's at 1 hour. And it is stunning. It's something that I think everybody should have the experience. And to give you an idea of the population, we have 3.2 million people living on the island, 1.2 million living in San Juan. So it is crowded. The rest are between New York, Connecticut, Florida, and just all over the United States. And then here you can see a map of Puerto Rico. So there, on that dot, that's San Juan. I think I have a pointer. Okay, I know how to use it. Wonderful. And I'm from the other side of the island, Aguadilla. They say that that's where all started because that point of the land was where civilization occurred. Controversial, but that's what they've taught us in history. And Aguadilla is mostly a fisherman's village, and that is where we have one of our offices. Not our Women Business Center, but our offices. So that is the view from our office. You're all invited to do a retreat there or work from there. We promise great company, coffee, and a sunset view. So, and we mean that, we're very hospitable. So how it all started, from this tiny island, I went to DC and now I've come back to plant all these seeds throughout my time. Now, I went to school in Aguadilla, so there's not a lot of people that live there. And I wanted to do an internship in Washington. So I arrived there like many people arrive to Washington, very shy, not knowing anything, having a good personality, knowing how to make coffee and make some friends. That's really how it all started there. So when I was working on Capitol Hill, I had the opportunity to work with the representative of Puerto Rico. We have a resident commissioner. So we have the only member of the House of Representatives that is elected for 4 years, but they don't vote on the final passage of the bill. So it's very hard to make change. And I worked with him, in this case, Pierluisi, he's now the actual governor. He was wonderful to me, but I knew I needed to move on, right, at some point. So I went to work at the World Bank Group, where I had the opportunity to work with what they call the world's poorest countries. And I worked a lot with Africa. And I remember one day I walked in with a delegation, we went to a school in Ghana that we were funding a program for education. And I walked in and they had this beautiful computer lab. I was like, oh my gosh, this looks like the Apple store I've seen. And I'm thinking, wow, the schools in Puerto Rico do not have this. They don't have Wi-Fi. There's barely any chalk for the blackboards. And I'm not talking about those digital blackboards. I'm talking about the real chalkboards. And I thought that that was not fair. So of course, I'm living in DC. There's lots of happy hours. How many have you been to happy hour? Okay, now we'll talk at 5. We'll do happy hour. And I'm just having this conversation with a friend, and he says, I was just in Puerto Rico, and I think we should do something. We're living in DC. We have all this access. What are we really doing? And he said, well, let's do a fundraiser. And he said, okay, how much are we going to ask? $10, $100? He's like, no, we're going to ask for $1,000. I was like, who am I going to get $1,000 from people? And to this day, I say I only have 20 friends because we only raised $20,000. We found 20 people that will give us $1,000. And that is how Friends of Puerto Rico was born. So it's something special to me because I was out of my comfort zone. I didn't think we could raise the money. We did. And then everybody started calling us because there's this group raising money for Puerto Rico. And then we officially got incorporated. That was in 2016. I put Johns Hopkins there because I went to school in Puerto Rico. Of course, living in Washington, I needed to kind of go to a US mainland school. So I was able to graduate from Johns Hopkins University. And then, that's where I also include Friends of Puerto Rico. So fast forward to 2017, Hurricane Maria occurred, but we had already been incorporated and we were already doing good work with students, identifying community causes that then we could support. Now, when the hurricane occurs, I'm in Washington in my very comfortable office at that time on K Street, and I couldn't do anything. I felt totally helpless. So I go to my computer, I log into Facebook, and I see that Facebook has this thing called raising money for causes. And I did 3 clicks and I launched a fundraiser. The first phone call I receive is from a family member. What are you doing? You're crazy. Why are you raising money? For what are you raising money? You can't do that. You don't know what's happening. But I just continued. So we continue doing the work. We're trying to mobilize volunteers. And one day I receive on my phone a notification from somebody from Facebook saying, we want to talk to you. And I said, okay, I wonder what I did wrong. Apparently, our fund was close to raising $1 million. And we hadn't noticed because we're just, when you're doing so much, right? I think that happens to all of you, that you're just so busy doing that you kind of forget to go back to basics. Like in this case, we hadn't checked the fundraiser. So this was a story that was then shared by Sheryl Sandberg. But I mentioned this, and I think this was a pivotal point for us, because when I felt helpless, I went and did something out of the ordinary, which in this case was creating a fundraiser that then allowed us to really provide that immediate relief to the island. Now, I included some photos of some of kind of the physical damage that occurred, but as you all may know, a lot of the damage is really, a lot of times cannot be physically seen. So we also left funds so that we could then go and work with what we like to call the Maria generation. The Maria generation are women and youth that were almost 2 years without going to school, youth that their school was destroyed, some are still closed, that just when they were recovering, they had earthquakes, as Corinne shared, and followed by COVID. So there's a lot of work to be done with this youth. And of course, every child usually has a mother or a parent that then we are working with them so that they can break the cycles of poverty. Many of you might know by now that 58% of youth in Puerto Rico live under poverty. And then poverty for us is codependency, is that when your whole family lives in snaps, well, then you think that's normal. So we want to break those cycles by developing those skills of financial literacy, of them having self-esteem, having a mentor, which is what led us to create this program. Oh, I'm getting ahead, I apologize, of seeds. So we say that our solution is coffee. Do I have any coffee drinkers here? Okay. All right. So when I pitch this to partners, they think I'm a little bit crazy, but it takes crazy to do crazy things. And we thought of coffee for a couple of reasons. One, hurricane wiped 85% of coffee. There was no coffee left on the island. We were able to buy coffee that survived the hurricane to make a private label coffee. We decided to do that because we wanted to create a program that was different, that was impactful, that was sustainable. And also, we wanted to be sustainable as an organization. Because what I have not said is that those 20 friends, they see me and they run. They're not going to give me any money anymore because I have nagged enough. And we created this coffee to have a learning tool for youth in our program, and also because we want to disrupt philanthropy. More and more people consume more coffee, and then it is a local product that is found in any household. It doesn't matter what social income bracket you are, you've probably had coffee, smelled it, or heard of it. So it's an easy product for youth to sell in the program. So this is our coffee. Some of you have, or I know AWBC has been wonderful in buying it and gifting it. So thank you for that and for all of what you do. And then it is a coffee with a purpose because we donate all the proceeds back to our programs. So these are some of our youth and our facilitators in the SEEDS program. And this is a youth entrepreneurship program that we run in public schools. And we teach youth how to gain entrepreneurship skills, how to run a business, and they have a mentor, which is fantastic. So we want to create the first generation that is out of poverty in Puerto Rico. This is a Cafe Ama booth. It's part of the curriculum that we have. So they have days that they go out and sell coffee, but most importantly, and I feel that you can appreciate this, is that all of what they sell is for them. That is their friends and family around. So if a youth sells, some of them are really good sellers, so beware if you see them, and you don't have any cash, although they take other payment methods, as you can imagine. They could sell $500 in a few hours. We subtract the cost of the coffee, and then they keep the net. They go and deposit that into their bank account so that they can buy all of the supplies for their business. The beautiful thing is that we can work with youth like Mia Isabella and her mother. Mia is 13 by now, and she has two businesses. One is with her group from the SEEDS program, and the second one is with her mother. So now they receive support and technical assistance from our Women Business Center in Bayamon so that they can continue to grow their business and their side hustle. This is Josuan. Josuan was our intern during Hurricane Maria, and now she has a digital agency in Puerto Rico, and she's worked with very popular artists. So we are so, so proud of her that she has continued her career. Now, I'm going to go back to this slide because I'm sure a lot of you get a lot of no's, especially when you are trying to gain more of those dollars that are needed for your match. So Puerto Rico is very hard to raise money, and I've shared that with some of you. So bear with me while I repeat this. Philanthropy has a long way to go on the island. There's not enough private foundations that support. There's also giving from a culture is still something that needs to be developed. So if I go and ask a family member for $10 for the nonprofit, they're just like, oh no, we don't really understand what you do. So yeah, we're not doing that. But if I tell them, buy this coffee, they would. Similar thing happened with the team of this individual, but I am using his photo because it's just better for the story. We had gone to a foundation and we had asked them to support Puerto Rico, probably a few months after the hurricane. And they had said that, relief funds had been agotados. They were used. So they couldn't include Puerto Rico because it's not part of their program design. That is very common in a lot of companies, banks, and foundations. So it's, we're gonna find a way for them to support us. So this is where the coffee comes in. We then went back and had a different conversation, and we talked about a food and beverage and event budget. And that is when they couldn't say no. That is why we say we're disrupting philanthropy with our coffee. And I'm going to go back. So this is just more photos of the youth in our program, our seeds. And that is why we called it seeds, because once you plant them, they just continue to grow, and then you have this beautiful garden. And that's what we aspire for Puerto Rico to always be, regardless of what natural disaster would be. And together with the Seeds program and our Metro Women Business Center, we are in this new stage that we really want for all entrepreneurs and every single person that has a dream to be able to convert that into a sustainable small business. And I will end with this phrase, that tiny seed. I'm sure you've all had that tiny seed in your hands many times. But we must remember that in order to grow, for that seed to grow, it needs to be dropped in dirt. It needs a lot of time. There'll be dark moments and it will struggle, but there will always be light. And that is what every day me and my team remember. When we wake up and we have all of these challenges, we remember that seed. So this is what we have been able to do in these years and what we hope to continue growing our garden with all of you. I feel so blessed that the conference was hosted in Puerto Rico. I have learned so much, Corinne and the team at AWBC. I feel I have squeezed every minute. Thank you. If we can do anything for any of you, just reach out. We want to be of service, and I appreciate all of you listening to us. Okay.
I think you could do a TED Talk.
Thank
I
you.
mean, like, you're such a great speaker. Get up here. You have such a great presence. And yeah, I mean, your vision's a little bit crazy. It's a little different. Who would think you go sell coffee to power the finances of small businesses that you turn around and counsel and help, develop and grow? So we put the microphone down here on the center of the floor because we think you might have some questions for her. So this is a great opportunity to have a dialogue if you're willing to take some questions.
Absolutely.
So when we thought about some of the things that you might have to teach the women's business centers, you talked about resilience and you talked about, just overcoming that and the struggle. So many things in Puerto Rico have been headwinds that you've had to struggle through. Can you talk a little bit about just the ways that you guys are continuing to work through some of those challenges, whether it was through Fiona or, we know there's a talent exodus of people leaving the island and like you did, go to DC. Luckily you came back. Not everyone comes back. So can you talk about how you're able to fight through some of these unique challenges? Because I think that if you can do it in Puerto Rico, we should be able to do this in much more affluent communities, even in the poorest states on the mainland are more affluent than this island.
Thank you for that, Corinne. I think what we're seeing a lot from our clients is that they want to do something different. I think people here we're frustrated that we're used to things not working out, right, constantly. But we tell them, and we, from the very beginning, that they have to understand that it will be much harder than anything that they will do. And we start from that point because you think you're ready, but you're not necessarily ready for starting a small business that will survive a continuous natural disaster cycle.
And I think the other thing I'm taking away has been a theme of the conference on the disrupting philanthropy side, which is the model of contracting for services. We have all had the experience of going to foundations and corporations and asking for donations. And it's getting harder and harder no matter where you are. It's harder in Puerto Rico, it's hard everywhere. So the idea of having something to turn around and be able to sell on their behalf or sell to them is really so powerful. And that's what we've seen with the growth of AWBC to bring support. So does anyone have anything that they would want to share on how your organization is changing that model to contracting for services for corporations or foundations rather than simply just asking for a donation? Okay. Well, stay here. Yes. Okay. Eduardo's going to save us and ask a question.
First of all, congratulations. That was amazing. So our programs have been looking at the service agreement model. The hardest part was finding out where's the money and who's willing to pay for it. So in our programs, what we're finding out is that where you mentioned financial literacy, a lot of our clients don't have the basic financial literacy to either be entrepreneurs or be able to manage their finances at home. And so what we found in California is that there's Title I money and parent engagement funds in the school districts that are being used for coffee with the principal. And it's not the most effective use of their money. So we're doing service agreements with school districts, $6,000 to $8,000 per school district, to provide financial literacy to families, many of those who are entrepreneurs, and we're getting paid for that. And so that's what we're using for a lot of our match fund. We started a couple of months ago, and we're almost going to hit about $300,000.
Wow,
Right.
that's amazing. Congrats.
So if people look at their school districts, look at your county office of eds, they have money that are not, they don't know how to spend it. and coffee with principals are good, but thousands of dollars put in that, it doesn't make sense. And so we were not only for financial literacy, but it's digital literacy as well. So it's a combination of both. And I think you need both in order for them to be able to participate in some of the webinars. And I guess that's one of your questions is how some of your training is that done online or is Puerto Rico having the challenges of, like you mentioned, the lights turning off? Is there efficient internet service here that you do that? Because a lot of the schools provide our service agreements to provide those virtual classes.
Mhm. Well, right now we do both. So some people, they come in person, but we have the hybrid perspective. One thing that we are also integrating in the curriculum is for businesses to either get a generator or have savings to have a generator, because otherwise they won't be able to operate or just generate funds during the disaster.
Hi, good morning. So amazing, very inspirational. Kathleen Taylor with the Nevada WBC. So I'd like to just kind of open with a question. What do you think of this strategy? Because it was just a brainstorm idea. So with your brothers and sisters, fellow Puerto Ricans that are in the States, is there a possibility of connecting with them and deeming them as brand ambassadors for your WBC? And then these same individuals can connect back to hypothetically, their family members that are on the island. And then now the family members of these brand ambassadors, Puerto Ricans that live in the States, their family members can then create their own organic network. And then these family members are now an extension of those brand ambassadors. And now the family members can create a network to drive and disrupt the culture and create a network of giving amongst these family members that are islanders to help you with your fundraising. Does that make sense?
Yes, no, that's a brilliant idea. And thank you for offering that.
Okay,
Yes,
thank you.
Thank you.
So this is such a silly question after the brilliant idea. I didn't want to be on a plane ride thinking I should have asked that question. So on one of your slides, you had the television show, a picture of the television show, This Is Us. No. Yeah, this is you. Okay, can't see. So could you explain what that was all about? I mean, it was
That's
interesting.
the Bill Gates photo?
No,
Which
it was a television show. It's called This Is Us, right? And it was, I think you were speaking and it was on the screen. It was on the slide.
Okay, no, yes. Let's see. You're going to tell me which one is it?
It wasn't just you.
Let's see which one.
Jeremy's always got it, no matter what you need.
Let's. Oh, this is us. Oh, yes, that is. Thank you. That's really small. We're paying close attention. That is one of our program facilitators in a workshop. So that she had it on the screen.
It was relevant
Yeah,
to
and
whatever
I
she
can't
was
remember
talking
why
about.
I think it was just trying to profile what kind of business owner you want to be. I haven't seen the show, so I'm not sure what she was
You're
referring
missing
to.
it. You missed. That's a good show.
I mean, that's not a dumb question. We got a great laugh. Thank you, Anne Frank. So I want to talk about another exciting moment. Okay, when I first, excuse me, I'm sorry. When I first came to AWBC in January of 2019, a lot of learning to do. Then those earthquakes hit, like I think it was end of 2019, and then in January of 2020, the Maya West Women's Business Center sent out an email and said, like, help, we need women's supplies, we need just basic things. And I just forwarded it to everyone in my short email contact database that I'd built up over that year. And I got a message back from S&P Global Foundation, and they said, we'd like to give $2,500. So I called the Maya West Women's Business Center and I said, they'd like to give you $2,500. They said, well, great. Excuse me. But what we want to do with that money is just give checks to the small businesses we know are most affected by it. And we're just concerned we can't commingle those funds because giving grants to small businesses doesn't meet the requirements of the terms and conditions. So anyway, I said, well, I'll write the checks to the small businesses. I'll fly down there and we'll make those contributions. And we did all of this from S&P Global Foundation under the condition. I know there's like a tickle up here. So we did that under the condition that AWBC and our board, we would discuss what would be our disaster response plan. Well, then COVID happened. So we had a disaster response plan, but it didn't really take into effect kind of like a donation collection. So then earthquakes hit. We have water right there if you want one. So the hurricane hit down here. Of course, you know what happened with the conference. And Wendy Bauman from WIVIC, she calls and she says, y'all, if we could collect maybe like $100 from every women's business center, what would that mean for Puerto Rico? You need to do it. Like, well, if we do a collection for Puerto Rico, we don't do one for Florida. Florida might be mad. Or California might be mad. They have fires. But we just decided we needed, I need water. So sorry. I'm not emotional right now. We just said, this is something we need to do. And sometimes you just have to do the right thing. And so we communicated it, we got the money, and we didn't get $100 from every women's business center, but y'all gave. Like, raise your hand if you gave. So thank you so much. And some of you, your women's business centers made pretty significant contributions as well. I don't want to like name any, but Ohio, I mean, you guys gave like 500, right? $500.
Wow.
Yeah, that's huge.
Thank you.
And we reached out to T-Mobile because they've got the LD Streeto across the street. And we said, we think, we're going to try to raise like maybe $100 from every women's business center. And if we could get $100 from like 140 of them, that'd be 14,000. Would y'all be willing to, match that? And they said, we got you. We're going to give you money for that. And so we didn't get $100 from every women's business center, and that's okay. You can set a goal and you can not get there. And raising money for Puerto Rico is hard. You said that earlier. What we did achieve was $21,000 that we're going to present today.
Thank you.
I guess I have like one more friend than you.
That's right. That's right. Good for you. But now there are friends for Puerto
Now-
Rico.
Now they're friends of
For-
Puerto Rico
Thank
too.
you for that, Kareem.
Yeah, so I'd
Thank
like
you.
to bring to the stage, if we could, everyone who's here from the Puerto Rico Women's Business Centers. Is anyone else here? Come on up, Eileen. It'd be great if our board members would join us for this. I mean, this is to be representative of you all made this donation possible. So we're going to take the 21,000 divided by 3. So each center gets $7,000 unrestricted. You can do whatever you need to do with it.
Thank you. Yeah. Gracias. How fun.
Yeah, it's a curly paper.
Está Ana Jiménez. Thank you so much.
They won that one.
Gracias a todas.
Only Puerto Rico.
Okay. Yeah. When you, yes. Yes. Vente acá, ¿sabes para qué? Ahí. O de este lado para que te puedan. Gracias. Deja coger el día.
So this still calls into question what we're going to do when y'all have, disasters in your areas. How will we mobilize? How can we collect? Because reaching out to you to give, we know that that's a very limited resource. And so that